Hi, when I was a teenager, long time ago, I compiled a list of all the regular British birds, the resident species, the winter visitors, the summer visitors. We're not talking about the occasional vagrant, but our regular birds. If you was to open the Reader's Digest book of British birds, there'd be approximately 240 species, and that was about the length of my list. And then I said to myself, I want to photograph all of those. And I've spent the last 50 plus years trying to do that. The last but one species was jack snipe, and that was about 8 years ago, and that left me with the golden oriole, the only bird on that list that I didn't photograph, but no longer a British bird. They don't nest in Norfolk like they used to, so really I should have took it off the list, but I didn't. I've kept it on, and I'm surprised I've never photographed one, because I've spent enough time in Spain and Eastern Europe where they're very common. So we're in Bulgaria today. This has got to be my favourite Eastern European country. I've spent a lot of time here photographing the birds, and at the bottom end of this slope in the very tall trees there's a golden oriole's nest. So I'm going to put a hide up down there and hopefully get my first pictures of the last bird on my list. I'm not a great fan of these chair hides, but they are very popular with other people and they do go up very quickly. I just find them a little bit on the tight size for me, but my friend Emil Enchev, who was looking after me, he does have some pop-up hides, but he just didn't have any with us, so I have to put up with a chair hide. I just find them a little claustrophobic. My arms are very close to the material, I can't move my legs about. They're okay for shorter periods in hides, but for longer sessions I find them a bit tiring. But I was wrong about not being able to see the nest. I could, very clearly. I wouldn't actually count this as having photographed golden oriole yet. The picture isn't of a good enough standard, but I can see it. But it's just long periods of watching a bird sitting on its nest. Not very exciting. What I didn't know at this stage was the eggs had hatched. There were now young birds in the nest. So after about 30 minutes or so, the bird sneaked off. I didn't see it actually leave. And a few minutes later it came back and I could see the chicks just sticking their heads above the rim of the nest. Now I stand more chance. There's the possibility of the golden oriole landing on perches to the side of the nest and getting a clean shot. Here's a dilemma. There's two jays in the tree. They seem to know there's a nest there. They're very interested. The orioles are being very successful in chasing them off, but they've got to be successful every day for the next 2 weeks. I'm not sure how long it is before orioles fledge. I got a feeling they're quicker than most birds of a similar size, so maybe it's 10 days before they fledge. So what do? If the jay gets close to the nest, do I clap my hands and scare it off? If I do that, I'm depriving some young jays of some food coming into their nest. If I don't do it, I'm not going to get any more oriole pictures. Should that be my motivation? Let's hope I don't have to decide. Now when you look in a bird identification book, the male golden oriole and the female are very different. The female is green, the male is yellow. I was surprised that I wasn't always certain which bird I was looking at. If I could see the whole bird, then I was confident this is a male. There's no streaking on the breast and it's a brighter yellow. The bird is coming to the right of the nest now as it approaches, so I can now say I've got my first golden oriole pictures. All the pictures are taken with the OM1 camera, the 150 to 400mm lens. So we're still looking at a male bird here, and note the next picture, definitely a female, much streakier and greener rather than yellow. The female came out on a branch to the left hand side, and I now felt I got my first really decent pictures of a golden oriole. One of the great features of the 150 to 400mm lens is the built-in 1.25 extender, a quick throw of a switch and I've magnified the image. That was the best so far. The bird went off to the left hand side of the tree and landed on an exposed perch, and I got a number of pictures of it and then were able to put the 1.25 extender in, which is just throwing a switch, and that's at 1000mm lens, but that looked good. I shall be pleased with that. Still hardly done anything in the way of video. So that's the next step. I've got to concentrate on the video now. I've been in this hide just coming up to 3 hours, and it's becoming a bit tiresome. They're small, these chair hides. If I was in a normal hide now, I could move my chair, stretch out a bit, and just move my legs into a different position. As it is, I'm stuck in one position. And not a lot of activity to keep me entertained. The bird would go off and feed about every 30 minutes or so, and you had to hope it was going to land on one of those exposed branches. 5 hours in the hide now, and I don't get many opportunities to take a picture. Normally the bird just goes straight onto the nest without perching at all. The sun is also starting to come out, so the light's getting a little bit contrasty. I think it's time to go for lunch. The next day I'm in a semi-permanent hide that's big enough for 2 people, so even I can stretch out. This is nest number 7. I haven't found any of them. It's the guys I'm with who are finding them, especially Nikki. His eyes are incredible. How he manages to spot these things, I don't know. But this is the only nest we've found so far that's got a totally open aspect from just one angle. And although if you stand underneath the tree that it's in, it's very high up in the tree, it's also, the tree's on a very steep slope. I'm sitting at the top of the slope, so the nest is only actually about 2 feet above me. It's a long way off, it's quite a distance, but I've got the tremendous pulling power of this lens. It's big enough in the frame, but it's not very interesting because the bird is sitting on eggs. And it's just long hours of watching a bird sitting on a nest, hoping that at some point the male or the female lands on a branch to one side of the nest and I get a picture of the bird on that branch. Look what a small nest it is. It's really tiny, and when the wind is blowing it really moves about in the canopy. Now, a friend of mine who lives in Norfolk told me that he'd photographed 3 golden oriole nests there when they used to breed in Norfolk, and the young come out of the nest very early. When they're only 3 or 4 days old, they start to clamber along branches, and this would be the perfect site if they did that. Can you imagine the young chicks going out on that branch to the left, and then the parents coming in to feed them? On this nest it was mostly the male that was sitting on the eggs. Didn't land on this branch very often, but just occasionally, so I'd get some more pictures away from the nest. And how about this? What's it doing here? It started to shimmer its wings. I've got it on video as well. Now, golden oriole's a bird I have very little knowledge of, so I do not know what this is about. You can hear it calling as well, doing that lovely fluty golden oriole call. It's a most attractive bird song, it's just rather limited, not enough notes in it. Unfortunately, this nest had not hatched. She wasn't feeding young. If they've got well-grown young, they could be feeding every 2 or 3 minutes, and that would make it a lot more interesting. I'll just show you some slow motion footage I took on video. This is all at 10 times slow in HD mode. Otherwise the footage has been in 4K. The bird would get off the nest every 30 or 40 minutes, and always the off-duty bird would come in very close and sing. And after a moment's hesitation, the bird would leave the nest, presumably be fed by the off-duty bird, and then come back to the nest. My thanks to Emil, Miro and Nikki for helping getting these pictures, and Emil's website on bird photography tours in Bulgaria is in the description underneath the video. So this is the evening of the last day of the trip. I've got my golden oriole pictures. I've done my complete list that I formed when I was a teenager. What's next? I want to do those same species again, but this time on video. And next week's film is also from Bulgaria, and it's called There's a Boa Constrictor in My Hide. Thanks for watching.